Generali, partner di vita.
Riparti con Euronics. Ti aspettiamo nei nostri negozi 100% italiani.
Più investiamo nel presente, prima raggiungiamo il futuro. Questa è l'idea che ci spinge ogni giorno a muovere il nostro paese verso la ripresa, a dare a tutti nuovi percorsi da seguire, a usare l'innovazione per essere più liberi di crescere, a esportare la nostra eccellenza italiana nel mondo, ad anticipare i cambiamenti per costruire un domani più sostenibile con tutti voi. Perché il futuro è la nostra destinazione, solo se è un viaggio che facciamo insieme.
Generali, partner di vita.
Riparti con Euronics. Ti aspettiamo nei nostri negozi 100% italiani.
Investiamo nel presente, prima raggiungiamo il futuro. Questa è l'idea che ci spinge ogni giorno a muovere il nostro paese verso la ripresa, a dare a tutti nuovi percorsi da seguire, a usare l'innovazione per essere più liberi di crescere, a esportare la nostra eccellenza italiana nel mondo, ad anticipare i cambiamenti per costruire un domani più sostenibile con tutti voi. Perché il futuro è la nostra destinazione, solo se è un viaggio che facciamo insieme.
Buongiorno, benvenuti.
Good afternoon and welcome to this meeting entitled Italy 2021, What Does It Mean to Innovate? In collaboration with the Foundation for Subsidiarity. This is a topic which we have seen in the ads that is everywhere. Today, we would like to understand a bit more about this topic, so that after that, during the year and during our life, we can have a clearer vision of what this topic is about. And we have with us three guests who are at the forefront of innovation. We have connected with us Vittorio Colao, Minister for Technological Innovation and Digital Transition, whom we thank for being with us today. Then we have with us Alessandro Profumo, CEO of Leonardo. You know that this is one of the most advanced, technologically advanced companies in Italy. And then we have with us Marco Sesana, Country Manager and CEO of Generali Italia, one of the major Italian companies fostering Italian innovation. Welcome. So I will give you a very short introduction of this session. I will just present you some slides with very general questions so that our guests will then expand on that. The first question is that we are now in the European spring with Next Generation EU. Europe now has three major goals. To be the first place in the world which is neutral in global warming. Europe is also committed against inequalities, and the third objective is that Europe wants to go towards digitization. These three objectives are included in the National Plan for Recovery and Resilience. 27% of resources will be dedicated to digitization. 13 billion euros will be allocated to ultra-speed networks and to the digitization of public administration, whereas 15 billion euro will be allocated to investments for industry and internationalization of SMEs. However, that also includes and implies risks. The risk of improvement in inequalities. Think about what happened in home schooling, for example. The ultra power of big data. Those who own big data can dominate everyone else. Privacy, which is at risk. Cyber crimes. think about what happened at the Lazio region recently. Fake news, which is everywhere, and can give misinformation, and the safety of networks. These are only some of the risks that we have today. And then there are also some obstacles. We have complained a lot about Europe in Italy, but we spend less than 10% of European funds. The Polish, for example, with the remaining European funds allocated to Italy, have been able to build up their motorways. So Italy needs to be able to spend European money. 26% of SMEs find it hard to digitize. Public administration is not very well digitized. There are very slow and complicated procedures for digitization. There are also a lot of vetoes, and also the staff must be properly trained on digitization. Hence, a lot of questions open up. Open questions. What is innovation and sustainability? Does innovation imply replacing people? What does innovation imply for people like me who are not digital natives? What does it mean to train on innovation or to use open-ended technologies? And the general question is, will the National Plan for Recovery and Resilience work or not? So, as Einstein said, the logic will bring you from A to B. Imagination will bring you everywhere. So maybe this is the great opportunity to think about all that. Hence, my questions that I will ask to our guests. We will have a couple of rounds among the guests. So how can innovation be implemented? Are there any skills and competencies that cannot be replaced by technologies but are complementary to them? And what are they, if so? How can we not leave anyone behind? So the first question really is, what is innovation? What does it mean? This is a very general question, but as all general questions, experts can provide a short answer to that. Then there's going to be a second round of questions on the National Plan for Recovery and Resilience. How can it be implemented? Who should be involved? How can the National Plan for Recovery and Resilience support companies? How can it reward innovation initiatives? So the second question concerns the National Plan for Recovery and Resilience. So I will first and foremost give the floor to Minister Colao. You will have 15 minutes to answer the first questions and then 10 minutes to answer the second questions. So I'll give the floor to Minister Colao. Thank you for being with us. Let me remind you that the session is now being held here, but we are also live on Corriere.it and on the channel of the meeting. So I think that there are some thousands of people who are now connected with us. Thank you. I'll give the floor to our minister. Good afternoon to you all, and it is nice for me to be here with you, or rather connected with you. Now I'm dealing with digital transition and technological innovation, but in my first answer, I will cover innovation, and my contribution will be optimistic. want to push all the youth to embrace innovation enthusiastically. Then in my second answer, I will talk about the digital transformation, and I will talk about the National Plan for Recovery and Resilience and the obstacles related to that. Digital innovation is an extraordinary opportunity for all the youth. It is an opportunity because it creates jobs and it can also enable the youth to achieve their personal goals. And it can change and radically improve the life of many people, as it was not the case in the past. So I'm very optimistic on that. And I'll share with you a couple of stories to explain to you what innovation is. Oftentimes, we think about the major innovation of companies like Leonardo as in inventions, patents, scientific discoveries, and this is what innovation is about, but not only. Sometimes, innovation even implies developing products and services which are much appreciated by a very large number of people. Or innovation can change a status quo, can open up new paradigms, and change something, change some products or services, and change the public administration in an innovative way. I remember a couple of things about my previous professional life. The first story is an example of major innovation. We bought the famous 3G frequencies. I was at the time working for a telephone operator, and we were saying that TV could be watched on cell phones. We didn't manage to do that, but 8 years later, Steve Jobs proposed the iPhone and said, this is something that will radically change the world, and you don't understand how much people hate his phones. And I thought at the time that he was crazy. But there was a different screen on the iPhone. There was a touch screen technology, and we have all seen what happened later on. So it was a major innovation, major technological innovation with a strong impact on the world. Then 3 years ago, I met Ben Francis, who was 22 at that time, who said no one in the world can produce a gym apparel today. We have all been wearing gym shoes and sports apparel. So from Birmingham, he went to Brescia, where he found producers making seamless apparels, for example, using special fabrics. He launched and produced a brand of sport apparel, sportswear, that was technically different from what could be found on the market. Unexpectedly, he was very successful, and last year he became the youngest billionaire in the UK. So talking about digital technology, chip, cell phones with special screens, talking about sportswear, regardless of what we are talking about, innovation is always based on deep technological expertise, which can make us understand what we can do. It can be like a scientist discovering a new particle, new materials, or a new way to build up chips or semiconductors, or it can just be a seamless T-shirt, which is different from what can be found on the market. Innovation is the willingness to change paradigms, to bring something new to people. And is based on the desire to give something new to new generations. I firmly believe that this is what we have to instill into youth in Italy. And I think that the National Plan for Recovery and Resilience is a great opportunity here. This is in line with the spirit that Italy had in the 1950s, 1960s. There are some comparisons with the 1950s and 60s. Now there is willingness to do something new. There is a lot of expertise. We have the resources, and especially ecological transition and digital transitions are two new opportunities that can make things change. So, if this opportunity is rightly exploited so that the youth who are listening to us right now to release their new energies in a positive way to promote ecological and digital transition, not only can this be beneficial to the whole world that needs this transition, but also entrepreneurs and companies can be connected to innovation and the world of research. This is what Italy desperately needs right now. So I do invite all the youth to embrace innovation, to embrace their passion and to improve their expertise, because the next 5 years will be the years where innovation will be possible in Italy. And I do invite all the youth to embrace that and embrace the spirit that was common in Italy in the 1950s and 60s. It is also a pleasure for me to be here. I came to Rimini oftentimes, and I come back here after 3 years. Now, following up to what Minister Colao has just said, major companies work along the same lines. Let's talk about the new technologies and innovation for us in Leonardo. There are different levels of innovation. And providing new things, providing new services and new products to our customers. This is one level, for example, and this is fundamental for us. It is fundamental for us to have new technologies and new competencies. We significantly invested in high-performance computers in Genoa, enabling us to work in-house. Before we were buying services outside on big data, artificial intelligence, augmented reality. Now, working in-house enables us to provide new services to our customers. Just think about the way to manage autonomous systems in an innovative way. And also think about the ability to process a very large number of data. Think about the ability to observe the Earth, to provide information to land managers, for example, or local authorities. Or think about the possibility to create turnkey solutions for our products. We don't sell helicopters. We sell the ability to fly in a certain way by landing vertically, for example. So we provide safety flights. So these are the new services we provide to our customers. For example, we have now organized a training school for pilots. We no longer sell planes, but we sell trained pilots. It seems banal, but it is not. And we do things in a different way now. For example, we have land monitoring systems in a place called Castelfusano, for example, near Rome. We are monitoring the forest, the pine forest in Castelfusano. We have drones irrigating the pine trees. There is a monitoring system whereby we use cameras to watch cars getting into the pine forest. We try to reduce the risk of fire in the pine wood. Also, we are improving the way we do things. We have 50,000 employees working with us, and every month we need to pay their salary. So we have bottom-up and top-down innovation on innovative processes. If we go to our factories in the Apulia region or in the Campania region in the south of Italy, we worked a lot with our colleagues to redesign production processes with people working on the floor to improve significantly, for example, the injuries at work, to reduce the number of injuries at work. So we need to innovate continuously micro processes, and we do that with the people working with us. It is important, it is fundamental to involve people when redesigning processes. We reduced stand-up time, for example, for more than 30%. This is based on our willingness to continue investing by innovating. In the next round of answers, I will talk about Leonardo Labs. In short, we have decided to create labs to acquire technologies in-house, vertical technologies in-house, which are used throughout all the divisions. Some labs are focused on the digital world. Some other labs are not focused on the digital world. 3 of them are focused on autonomous systems. Managing autonomous systems will be increasingly important. Think about, for example, missions in space and on the moon. In order to create spaceships, we will need to have unmanned spaceships. So these spaceships will need to work on their own and to be totally autonomous. We will also need to manage objects, to manage complex situations. Think about, for example, the tsunami in Fukushima, in Japan. It would have been very important to have a series of helicopters to run local emergencies. Then there's another very important lab, a hybrid lab to manage hybrid propulsion. This is very important to optimize the environmental impact of helicopters and ATRs. In Europe, you can fly on cities only with 2-engine helicopters. but there must be in hybrid capacity to manage the 12-15 seconds to switch on the second engine in case the first engine fails. Then there is another lab, which to us is very important and is very innovative, on which we have a partnership with Solvay. It is a Belgian company that is focusing on chemical innovation. It is a lab on the creation of new composite materials and thermoplastics. Innovation is not just focusing on materials, but also on production processes. Thermoplastics can have different reactions according to the way they are processed. To us, this lab is very important because everything that flies must be light and resistant. So we need to invest significantly. We invest about 12% of our turnover in R&D. It's about 1.5 billion every year, so it's a lot of money. But it is vital to do so. Otherwise, in a few years, we could no longer be on the market. So it is fundamental to understand the ability that today we have and the skills that we will need in the future. Giorgio was talking about not leaving anyone behind and bridging this gap between what we have today and what we will need in the future. We also needed to safeguard our employees over the time.
Bene, allora.
Very well. Good afternoon, everyone. And this is the first time I've been here in person. I was here last year, but there was no one else, so I was on my own, actually, in the room, and so this is different. So when we talk about innovation, I would like to continue along the same lines of the previous speakers, and I would like to talk about an episode. Last year, like many other companies, we started an internal streaming program in order to provide information, talk to people. And in one of the first streaming sessions in April, we wanted to give the message that Generali, as a company, had to be there for its customers, for communities, for our colleagues. But this was possible only if every single member of the organization chose to be there and was ready to give their contribution. So, something special happened. I think this is something everybody knows, because, video conferences are very common nowadays. So hundreds of people started to write on the chat the words, "I am there, I am in, I'm game." So, that meant that everyone was making a choice, taking part in this emergency situation. And this actually takes me back to the title that we have for this year's meeting, "The Courage to Say Me." And this is what innovation is. That is to say, a group of people that decide to adopt a different behavior, a different attitude. People who look at reality in a different way, in a new way. And I believe that often people choose to participate in an active way if they have strong ambitions. So the reason for change, which in itself is innovation, takes place if there are dreams and goals. As a country, we need to set high targets and goals. So for big companies, innovation starts by the definition of how the company wants to develop, of which road a company decides to take in terms of development. So this actually gives way, brings about change, create new products, being there for people and customers, do things in a different way, apply technological innovation, technical innovation in a way that changes people's life. So this is actually the first engine of innovation, looking at reality in a different way. And I think this starts with people, with a company's attitude. We give people a dream, a great ambition, and everyone participates in this dream. Today, we witness a technological innovation. We have seen the examples that have been given by the other speakers. So there's a lot of technological innovation, and companies need to make this innovation, this change, inclusive, because technology could often leave a lot of people behind. So to have an organization taking up a certain direction should not mean that someone is left behind. Everyone should take part in the development of know-how. So, well, digital development is a great opportunity because it provides everyone with the opportunity to participate in a startup, in a company, in an enterprise. So we have to invest in training, invest in know-how and skills, so that we can actually promote this common ambition. Then there is just one last point I would like to tackle. That is to say, today we have a unique opportunity. That is to say, the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, and we will be talking about this more later on, which gives us the opportunity to invest a lot of money in our society, so that we have a quality leap in those sectors where Italy traditionally lags behind. So this is more than just innovation, this is technology. And this is actually what we are doing in my company, Generali, where we invest a lot in training and technology, and where we try to provide people with high ambitions and to take people towards technological innovation. So I'm going back to what I said at the beginning. I do believe that change and innovation take place through people and through an ambition that is shared by everyone.
Mi colpisce in questi
Well, these first interventions have brought up something that was quite unexpected. The minister said we want the young people of our country to take part in innovation so that we can have and improve in terms of ethics. So also, Mrs. Sesana said that there is a connection between the courage to say me and innovation, because, well, usually innovation is something mechanical, automatic, something that is disconnected from the human sphere. But here we have this link, and all the examples that Alessandro Profumo made are extremely interesting, because innovation is not something that is very far from us. Innovation is something that makes our everyday life better. He talked about fires in the woods. Knowing that there is that there is a tool to protect us against fires is obviously something extremely important. This is a form of innovation that starts with man and has man as a goal. Its goal is to improve everyday life. As for instance, as the minister said, cellular phones changed our way of living. So, well, with my second question on the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, this is an aspect that we have to bear in mind, because this becomes an opportunity for every one of us. This is a way that we have at the meeting, how we can take part in everything that is connected to our everyday life. And I give the floor again to Alessandro Profumo. Well, the national plan for recovery and resilience, well, that means that we need to change our country in a way that our sons and our children and grandchildren can have a better life. A life that is better than it would be if we did not take up this opportunity. So there is a responsibility in a way, an individual responsibility of every one of us. Most people that have some managerial posts need to be aware of this responsibility. The plan is based on the guidelines of the European Union and the European Commission, who shared these guidelines for 3 areas. So there is the area of the digital area, so Minister Colao will probably say more about this. Then environmental transition, the green area, which is extremely important. For the first time, the European Commission gives some targets, some objectives. And then there is the third area of inclusion, cohesion. And these are 3 themes, or rather the theme of inclusion and the green theme were part of the Laudato Si encyclica, where the Pope put these 2 concepts together, green culture and inclusion, because these 2 commitments go hand in hand. So we have very clear objectives. The European Commission and the European Union for the first time made a very important choice that actually changed the culture of the Commission itself. That is to say, the Commission decided to have a common debt to actually finance this plan. 1 year ago, we were asking ourselves, so what kind of reaction will the European Union have to the COVID crisis? Well, also let's say the biggest, the most important countries decided to take up a common debt in order to face the crisis. And this is not obvious. This is a real change, the real opportunity that we have to take advantage of. We, as Italians, are a bit considered the weakest link in this system, because we cannot really use the European funds properly. And I believe that one of our opportunities is to show that, on the other hand, we can use in a fruitful way everything that comes from the European funds. And this will give further opportunities to those who are in favor of a common balance for the European Union, which is fundamental to have a real political integration at European level. And then, well, there's the digital area, the green transition, and social inclusion. These are the three main topics. As a company, we try to be involved in all of these areas. As far as the green transition is concerned, for the first time this year we presented a completely integrated budget. So there is the integration between the economic and the non-economic part of our balance. So we talk about consumption, energy consumption, water consumption, and everything that is produced and everything that has to be disposed of, and with all our efficiency objectives. And then there is also the theme of support to environmental impact with our technologies, as for instance a satellite observation in terms of precision agriculture, which means reducing water consumption and reducing the use of chemicals in agricultural practices, as well as optimizing the quantity of produce per hectare. So with satellites, with satellite observation, we can do a lot from this point of view, as well as the hydrogeological protection aspect and the protection of the coasts. So we can actually monitor the whole of the Italian coasts. We can monitor pollution. We can monitor the level of ripeness of plants. These might seem very simple examples, but reducing by 90% the consumption of water is not so neglectable, because we know that water is going to be a very precious resource in the future. Then, well, the digital area, I will not speak a lot about this, because this is more the theme that will be dealt with by Minister Colao. So cybersecurity, we have a small department that, but we have 400 million euro as a turnover. And what do we do in this department? Well, logical and physical security are the aim, because they have to be looked at in an integrated way. Let's think about critical infrastructures. Let's think about the so-called SOC, the centers where where we can actually safeguard our customers from attacks, hacking attacks that may come from different subjects. We invest a lot in training, because this is one of the key aspects in terms of cyber security, this is to say behavioral aspects. We've seen that with the Lazio case. It was the behavior or the choice of someone who didn't mean to do anything wrong, but it left the system open to hackers. So this is a very important area. We have two SOCs, cybersecurity, in England and in Italy. We have many international customers, especially in the Middle East and in the Far East. And this is one of the areas where we really need to put a lot of effort. And then, the high-performing computer we have installed in Genoa. I was talking about it before. It was installed 2 years ago. It is fully operational at the moment, and it is extremely important for us. It's fundamental because it is the 32nd in the world in terms of power, and well, it is big, but there are two others that are more powerful in Italy. In Bologna, for instance, there is one. And well, what is more interesting is that we do not focus only on one area of activity, and we can actually sell this high-speed calculation tool to third parties. So we use this computer as a service we can provide for other customers. We have now, for instance, a dialogue with the justice sector, the health sector. Health sector, the name is Don't Pay, because we cross with Don't Pay pharmaceutical molecules with certain pathologies, and we can actually provide a great support to their research activity. We are trying to use this computer internally, but also as a service to third parties. So this is extremely important because it can actually provide an improvement in many different areas. I'm a bit worried when people say that digitalization creates opportunities, because skills and expertise can be very different, so we need to really take care of what our people can do. An engineer who is today 60 or 64 like me, he started to work with technologies that were completely different from those that are used today. So we need to, so to speak, accompany our resources in developing the skills needed to keep up with the changing world. So this is something we do with training, but also by hiring young people who are placed horizontally in our structures, so that they can actually bring with them their skills to use different technologies, and they can work with people who maybe are not really familiar with these skills. So we already hired about 80 researchers for our labs, and we will hire 400 all in all, and they're all PhD graduates at international level. So they really have a very well, a professional background which is different from the one of our people, and this is a very positive aspect.
Allora, questo tema direi.
This theme is extremely complex. We have this plan, this national plan, and it is a very good plan. And I believe that the fundamental theme, as Mr. Profumo said, is how we are going to implement it. And if we look at the data we have, and the figures that were actually mentioned before in terms of European resources, well, this shows us that we need a very efficient and transparent governance, and this is really the focal point. This is something that actually involves everyone, the country as well as the single companies who want to participate in this transformation. And I do believe that everyone should really commit themselves to this goal, how to manage change day by day with an objective that is a medium-term objective. That will be the main challenge that we are called upon to face in the near future. The national plan, it really gives us a whole of opportunities in many different areas. We are very active in terms of cybersecurity in my company. It is an emerging issue in terms of protection of companies and individuals, because it will be focal in the next years, and we are investing a lot. And I think it is worth it to discuss also the theme of public health, because this is something that, it is extremely important for us. We have been investing a lot in people and structures, because we do believe that making health, public health, an excellence in Italy is one of our main objectives. So this is something that can see the contribution of both the private and the public sector, and this will, I think, bring about an advancement for people and for society. We decided to focus on the 3 areas. Prevention, that's the first one. We really need to expand prevention, to make prevention an everyday activity in people's life. Lifestyle, behavior, education, and the idea of a healthy lifestyle. This is really something that is important for us. Then access to high quality healthcare, and here again, since Generali is widespread on the Italian territory, we can actually give people access to quality care. The health structures that have an agreement with Generali are maximum 20 kilometers away from any private house in Italy. So they are quite near to the citizens, to the people. So we have then a third area, which is extremely important for us. That is to say, active aging. There is an important demographic change that will take place in Italy in the next few years. So we want to really support people through programs as well as structures, places where people can live in a very comfortable way. So this is one of our main objectives. So everything that I said is based on digital programs which are hybrid, because in the end, health service is based on personal relationships that can be developed in different ways, in the different phases. Digital programs are extremely important. They are really a fundamental part of this program. So public health services are really a central point. A digitalization program for health services, a program that includes everyone, that doesn't leave anyone behind, that is based on public and private skills and expertise. Well, this is one of the major challenges we will have to meet as a country in the next years. In the last 2 years, we really, realized the importance of a high-quality health service in order to face all of the uncertainties that await us, that can be really, really serious, as we all have learned. Well, this is a crucial aspect for the whole country.
Parola al Ministro.
The floor to the Minister. I will make some remarks on what has been said by Profumo and Sesana before talking about the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. I will start from the question everyone is asking, even abroad, as in how will you manage governance and the National Recovery and Resilience Plan? We cannot invent many different models. And we have said that to everyone, as in to local authorities, provinces, municipalities and regions. The model is quite simple. There is a political level, which is what is envisaged by the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. Then there's a coordination. There's a coordination level. The coordination is going to be ensured by the different ministries dealing with the national plan. And then there's an implementation plan. Implementation is going to be ensured by the different areas. In a sort of competitive way, there are targets that needs to be achieved by certain deadlines. And this is going to be the main challenge for all of us. At a political level, at a coordination level, and at an implementation level, Italy will need to show that it is able to implement complex plans within specific deadlines. This is the main challenge. Alessandro talked about Giovannini and many companies having major projects like us. Everyone is trying to coordinate together, and therefore we will be very hard to ourselves. We will be very demanding with ourselves. We cannot have delays. This is the reason why we are trying to speed up recruitment, for example. We will need a lot of people, a significant number of people. I think that all these people will be able to help us in this National Recovery and Resilience Plan. And this is very challenging. We are all alike. It's not that the regions are different from the government or from municipalities. We are all alike. I totally agree with Sesana on healthcare. It is a very important field. Here we will need to be very proactive because there are areas that are lagging behind in Italy. So we will need to put together the best of the private sector, the best of the public sector, and the best of the digital world in order to provide good healthcare to all, everywhere in Italy, which is not the case today. Let me talk about the National Recovery and Resilience Plan and the digital sector. Alessandro said something very interesting. Let's not just talk about opportunities, but because there are also risks. And Giorgio was also mentioning risks on people, on non-digital natives, for example, and on the people who do not have digital skills, people that could lag behind in all this. There are many opportunities today. We are just at the beginning of a major digitization phase that will give us great opportunities. But everyone will need to be equipped with digital devices, not just the youth. In the end, the digital part I'm dealing with is not the most important one. I really believe that the most important part is the part on skills, competencies, research, and training. And this is done by Minister Messa, especially. Many resources will be allocated to strengthen our education system. There will be grants, there will be resources allocated to training of professors, to vocational training. There's a whole world of contamination between public sector and the private sector, innovation and the development of R&D. And I think that to some extent this is the most important part, even more important than ecological transition, because this is an investment on the skills of Italian people. Then these people will make digital transition possible. But that is the part on which there's about 30 billion people allocated, and we cannot get it wrong. If these 30 billion euro are invested properly over the next 5 years, excellent results will be achieved. And then there is also the infrastructural dimension, which is important. Talking about infrastructures, there is a 7 billion euro allocated to the networks, 7 billion allocated to the public administration, some billion euros allocated to the private companies. There are incentives for training and upskilling of people. And there are also investments in healthcare, as mentioned by Sesana beforehand. This is an important part. And that will enable us to achieve results. But this is not the core. The core is really competencies, skills, research, and the upskilling of people and training of people. Then there's the regulations. One of the obstacles that we will have are rules that are not in line with the new world. The difficulty to innovate with old systems, old models belonging to the past. On that slide, Giorgio, you were talking about big data, privacy, and many other topics. At a European level, we are doing very well on these topics, and there are significant investments have been made in the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. However, we need to renew our systems, because our systems were designed 50 years ago. That was a slide I was making reference to. And we also need to manage inequalities, which you put in the first place. If this transition is not inclusive, if this transition is not a social dividend for everyone, then there will be problems, because innovation can lead to the individual collective relaunch only if it concerns us all, only if everyone can benefit from innovation. So we need to invest on competencies, skills, training, and basic skills. You are not a digital native, you said, but with 2 ministers, we have 500 million investments of training on basic digital skills for non-digital natives. This is perhaps the most difficult part. because in 5 years we cannot realize that only 3/4 of the country have been relaunched, but 1/4 of the country is still lagging behind. Then cybersecurity, big data, privacy, rules. Europe is doing very well on all these topics, and we have just passed a law on copyright against cybercrimes. Among all the risks you see in the slides, we need to invest significantly on the first risk, inequalities, which is why I'm saying that training and skills are at the core of the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. So I'll make 3 short conclusions out of this debate that went beyond the title. So the first one is the bond between innovation and sustainability. We heard a lot for a long time the term sustainability and happy degrowth. First of all, sustainability means that a man is at the center, man is at the heart, man is the core. Sustainability and innovation must go hand in hand to improve life. This is the final goal, improving life, improving our life in healthcare, in the environment, in day-to-day management, in the management of our daily life. So man is at the heart of sustainability. And it can be sustainable only if it changes, only if it works. We're not talking about degrowth. We are talking about growth through employment. Man at the heart, man at the center, that must work, must transform and use all his intelligence in a different way. Not because the selfishness of a few can bring to the collective good, but as mentioned in the encyclical, the main goal is to improve life by innovating, by using all possible technologies. This is the idea of using a man who is responsible, that can put together and pool all his resources in order to improve his life. And the third aspect, and I'm going to use a word that is very dear to me, is subsidiarity, as in we need to work together. This plan, this National Recovery and Resilience Plan, sustainability, needs to put together company, SMEs, regions, municipalities, the government. Everyone needs to collaborate in a team. There's not just a top-down approach. There must be a bottom-up approach. Once I heard a speech on the difference between China and Italy by Cassese. Cassese said that the airport of Shanghai was renovated in 6 months. In Heathrow, it took 1 year to make a new takeoff lane. However, this 1 year took account of people's safety, pollution, quality. Gathering people together around the project means relaunching the idea of freedom. Another very important topic for the meeting is training and human capital. The change that we all need as a country in terms of knowledge. We've had enough of 2.2 million people belonging to the need generation that do not work nor study. We've had enough of homeschooling, with schooling in Italy that is below the OECD level. We need to make an effort in changing the human capital and knowledge, even in terms of information. There's a bond between the educational sector and development. That was not the case in Italy for many years because education is seen as a social expenditure. I always say that the US is buying semi-finished products of human capital from elsewhere, from abroad, and transform this human capital into the 5% of people managing the whole world. Then you have American, Chinese, and European professors that go to the US and manage the whole world. We need to think that we may train Italian people abroad and then to have them back here in Italy to manage Italy. And then there's a topic, and this is a topic that is going to be discussed on the last day with Giorgetti and other entrepreneurs. The third very interesting topic that we mentioned here is inequalities. We will have with us the major economist Fitoussi talking about inequalities. It is interesting that entrepreneurs and Minister Colao, who is a minister, talk about the inequality of the way to produce. We will no longer be able to produce if we create inequalities. This is what was in the past said by the Pope, the trade unionist, the left-wing man. It is interesting that a minister talks about inequalities in the way to produce. Today, there was also a meeting, a session where we talked and where we said that inequality sometimes has to do with innovation. So these are three very interesting topics that are just launched in a debate here at the meeting. So we will continue having a dialogue with our three guests of today, whom I really thank because they have achieved the objective of the meeting. Continue talking about the bad debt and good debt that Draghi mentioned last year. 1 year later, we are trying to understand what we are doing in order to promote the much-needed change in Italy. So let's continue with the meeting and let's thank our guests for this very beautiful session. Thank you.
Più investiamo nel presente, prima raggiungiamo il futuro. Questa è l'idea che ci spinge ogni giorno a muovere il nostro paese verso la ripresa, a dare a tutti nuovi percorsi da seguire, a usare l'innovazione per essere più liberi di crescere, a esportare la nostra eccellenza italiana nel mondo, ad anticipare i cambiamenti per costruire un domani più sostenibile con tutti voi. Perché il futuro è la nostra destinazione, solo se è un viaggio che facciamo insieme.
Generali, partner di vita.
Riparti con Euronics. Ti aspettiamo nei nostri negozi 100% italiani.
Più investiamo nel presente, prima raggiungiamo il futuro. Questa è l'idea che ci spinge ogni giorno a muovere il nostro paese verso la ripresa, a dare a tutti nuovi percorsi da seguire, a usare l'innovazione per essere più liberi di crescere, a esportare la nostra eccellenza italiana nel mondo, ad anticipare i cambiamenti per costruire un domani più sostenibile con tutti voi. Perché il futuro è la nostra destinazione, solo se è un viaggio che facciamo insieme.
Generali, partner di vita.
Riparti con Euronics. Ti aspettiamo nei nostri negozi 100% italiani.